The clock is ticking, and a palpable sense of anticipation is now spreading across the intricate world of international currency markets. For countless years, the Iraqi Dinar and the Vietnamese Dong have been subjects of relentless discussion, debate, and conjecture among a specialized community of global finance observers. However, the atmosphere surrounding these two particular currencies in 2025 is distinctly different from the speculation of the past decade. It seems we have moved beyond simple rumors and entered a phase of tangible, if subtle, operational preparation. This shift involves genuine, though unannounced, infrastructural updates and clear indications that a significant currency event could be lining up. Reports emerging from regional banks, specialized financial insiders, and even sources connected to government financial institutions suggest that discussions about contract rates, those highly sought after higher exchange values, are more than just abstract theory. For individuals who have followed this narrative for years, the current moment represents a potential culmination of that long-term vigilance. What exactly are these highly scrutinized contract rates that are generating so much interest across the foreign exchange community? The terminology often sounds complex and exclusive, but the core concept is straightforward. A contract rate essentially represents a negotiated, special exchange value that surpasses the standard over-the-counter spot rate one would typically see posted online or at a local bank's currency counter. It can be likened to a wholesale arrangement, often intended for large-scale institutional players, major organizations, or a specific class of currency holders who fulfill predetermined, rigorous exchange criteria. These higher rates, in effect, allow for a transaction at a premium to the public market rate. The existence and potential activation of contract rates for the Iraqi dinar have been a pervasive topic for over a decade. The belief among certain groups is that should Iraq proceed with a formal revaluation of its currency, a move to drastically increase its international value select, verified holders would be eligible to exchange their holdings at these elevated rates based on prior agreements or structured bank programs. The momentum and detailed operational discussions surrounding this possibility appear to be reaching a distinct peak in the 2025 timeframe. Turning our attention to the Vietnamese Dong, the economic narrative is one of a nation that has been steadily amassing financial power over many years. Vietnam has firmly established itself as a critical global manufacturing hub and a standout performer in the Southeast Asian economy. This sustained growth has led many financial analysts to conclude that the Dong has remained significantly undervalued relative to the country's actual economic output and potential. The contract rates being privately circulated for the Dong suggest potential values ranging from 2 to 4 cents per unit. While these numbers might seem small in isolation, they represent a monumental percentage increase when contrasted with the current fractional public exchange rate. Such a change would instantaneously transform the holdings of smaller, individual currency owners into significantly more substantial assets. Adding to the intrigue is the concurrent preparation reportedly underway within numerous banking institutions. Sources indicate that a wide array of regional and international banks are actively preparing their internal rate adjustment systems. These are the technological and procedural frameworks that would be required to rapidly and smoothly implement specialized exchange programs almost immediately following official governmental authorization. This level of systemic readiness suggests that institutions are positioning themselves for a high-speed currency shift rather than a gradual, multi-year progression. In years past, the buzz around these currencies was often dismissed as little more than online chatter and wishful thinking. The current environment, however, is marked by a qualitatively different type of activity. There are confirmed reports of substantive, internal discussions taking place within the foreign exchange departments of regional banks. alongside comprehensive testing of system upgrades and the careful briefing of foreign exchange personnel on various rate sensitivity scenarios. These are not the kind of complex, time-consuming preparations that financial institutions undertake without a credible expectation of a major event. An operational setup is clearly being finalized behind the scenes, capturing the acute attention of currency specialists globally. Internal reports are characterizing 2025 as the setup year, the period during which the necessary technical and compliance infrastructure is quietly put into place, preceding any official or public pronouncements. While official statements remain absent, the accumulating circumstantial evidence and the direction of internal bank activity are becoming increasingly difficult to dismiss. The story of the Iraqi dinar is intrinsically tied to the nation's remarkable recovery and rebuilding efforts. Following decades of geopolitical volatility, international sanctions, and extensive infrastructural work, Iraq has been meticulously working to stabilize its national economy. Consistent revenue streams from its substantial oil exports, coupled with a noticeable increase in foreign direct investment, are providing a solid foundation. Furthermore, the Central Bank of Iraq has made public statements regarding financial system modernization, currency strength, and exchange protocol updates. To many who study these patterns, these developments represent the essential groundwork for a future revaluation. The desire for Iraq to possess a currency whose value accurately reflects its vast economic potential is a logical policy goal. Should a revaluation occur, the dinar's value could appreciate dramatically, leading to the intense focus on the 2025 window as a critical moment for potential action. The nation is strategically aligning its financial system for greater international relevance. Vietnam's strategic approach, while different from Iraq's post-conflict rebuilding, is equally purposeful. For several years, the Vietnamese government has signaled its long-term ambition for a stronger, more stable national currency. A more highly valued dong would enhance Vietnam's standing and leverage in international trade agreements across Asia, while also serving as a valuable tool for managing domestic inflation. The country's increasing integration with major global corporations and international supply chains makes the present time particularly opportune for a potential currency adjustment. The contract rate speculation linked to the dong is widely seen by economists as an indication of what the currency's fair market value would be if its exchange rate were allowed to float freely, fully reflecting the nation's powerful economic performance and potential. The critical question remains, why is 2025 being pinpointed as the potential timeframe for convergence? The answer lies in a confluence of factors relating to both internal economic cycles and larger global macroeconomic shifts. First, Iraq is actively initiating massive infrastructure projects that necessitate a dependable, globally respected currency to facilitate international contracts and investment. Second, Vietnam's continuous, robust growth is placing unavoidable pressure on its financial sector to rapidly modernize and stabilize its currency's value. Finally, the global economic landscape is undergoing a massive transformation. New international trade alliances are forming, the influence of digital currencies is expanding, and there is a gradual global movement toward diversifying away from the long-standing dominance of the US dollar. These macro forces collectively impose significant pressure on countries to formally reassess their existing currency valuations. Therefore, 2025 is not an arbitrary date. It is a point in time where these various powerful economic gears appear to be moving into alignment. The mechanism by which Iraq or Vietnam would execute a major currency revaluation is crucial to understand. Such an event is generally not a protracted affair, but occurs very rapidly. sometimes with as little as a few days' notice or even as an overnight declaration. This speed is why preparation is being so strongly emphasized within the community of currency holders. When the news breaks, banking channels are expected to be instantly overwhelmed by an influx of exchange requests. Only those individuals and entities with meticulous documentation and pre-existing, solid banking relationships are likely to be in a position to take immediate advantage of any special exchange programs. This reality is prompting experts to strongly recommend that holders of these currencies prioritize organization now. Every purchase receipt, every record of transaction, and all necessary identification should be securely gathered, cataloged, and digitally backed up. Being prepared and ready to act swiftly when the window opens is paramount. So, what does comprehensive preparedness truly entail in this unique context? Primarily, it means assembling a robust portfolio of documentation, proof of legal purchase, verification of serial numbers, and contact information for the original dealer. Secondly, it involves proactively establishing and nurturing relationships with multiple banks that have proven expertise in foreign currency exchange. Relying on a single institution may prove risky, as some banks might be privy to early access systems for contract rates, while others may not participate at all. Thirdly, it is essential to have a clear understanding of potential tax obligations. Should a revaluation generate a profit, that gain will almost certainly be subject to taxation. Consulting with a financial or tax advisor now is a prudent move, preventing unforeseen complications later. Finally, maintain vigilance, but exercise extreme caution regarding information. The internet is flooded with unverified claims. Focus exclusively on information that is credible, officially sourced, and verifiable. It is natural and wise to acknowledge the position of the skeptics, who often frame the Dinar and Dong narratives as little more than financial fantasy or baseless internet hype. It is undeniably true that currency revaluations of this magnitude are historically rare events, and many people have been financially harmed in the past by unscrupulous dealers or unrealistic get-rich-quick schemes. A healthy dose of skepticism is a protective measure in this market. However, the global economic realities of 2025 are fundamentally different from those of a decade ago. The pace of global economic change has accelerated dramatically, and nations that were once considered minor players are now rapidly ascending. Iraq's established oil, revenue strength, and Vietnam's undisputed industrial and manufacturing growth are hard facts. While this structural progress does not guarantee a revaluation, it firmly places the possibility within the realm of economic plausibility, a view critics can no longer easily dismiss. Another crucial factor to grasp is that even if these coveted contract rates become publicly available, qualification will not be automatic for every currency holder. Banks are likely to impose strict criteria, potentially limiting the special rates to officially verified holders, those participating in very large-scale transactions, or individuals enrolled in pre-approved bank exchange programs. This operational reality reinforces the insider advice that relationship building with financial institutions is a critical component of preparation. The deeper and more established your history and relationship with your bank, the greater the potential for your inclusion should these specialized rates be activated. The process extends beyond merely possessing the currency. It is about ensuring your financial profile and documentation are organized to rapidly execute a compliant transaction the moment the opportunity arises. Strict compliance protocols are also non-negotiable in the modern banking landscape. Today's financial institutions operate under extremely stringent anti-money laundering (AML) regulations. This requires them to thoroughly verify the legal origin of the currency being exchanged and the means by which it was originally purchased. For those who have held dinar or dong for an extended period, the immediate priority should be locating or obtaining duplicate copies of original receipts and transaction records. If the original documentation is missing, the proper course of action is to contact the issuing dealer, as many legitimate, licensed dealers maintain detailed records and can issue necessary verification documents. Without this paper trail, even a legally purchased holding could face significant delays or outright rejection during the exchange process. When major financial transformations occur, rigorous compliance and regulatory adherence always take precedence over the excitement of the moment. The role of the international banking network is also beginning to draw increased scrutiny. Large-scale currency exchanges are never isolated events. They rely on a sophisticated global infrastructure. Your local bank will connect to much larger correspondent banks that manage the heavy lifting and cross-border settlement for foreign exchange transactions. The quality and depth of these correspondent relationships directly impact the speed and effectiveness of processing. Some regional financial institutions are reportedly expanding their partnerships with global banks that have a deep, proven expertise in either Middle Eastern or Southeast Asian financial systems. Such strategic expansions and internal technical investments are often considered a significant early indicator that large institutions are positioning their infrastructure for a pending event. Banks operate on long lead times, and these preparatory actions take months of advanced planning. If these revaluations do take place, timing will likely be the single most critical factor. Some reports suggest that the contract rate window, the defined period during which these higher rates are offered, could be remarkably short, lasting perhaps only 48 to 72 hours. Following this brief special period, the rates could potentially revert to the new, lower public market level. Being fully organized could, quite literally, represent the difference between realizing a significant financial gain and missing the opportunity entirely. Imagine the scenario: thousands of currency holders attempting to initiate exchanges simultaneously, leading to jammed phone lines, overloaded banking websites, and overflowing branch queues. This potential chaos underscores the necessity of having a clear, predetermined action plan. Which bank will you approach first? Which specific documents will you present? How will you account for the new funds and manage the subsequent tax implications? All these logistical considerations must be sorted out well in advance of the news breaking. However, a fundamental grounding in reality requires us to acknowledge that not every potential scenario ends in a revaluation. It remains entirely plausible that 2025 could pass without any major currency shifts. Unexpected global economic downturns or unforeseen geopolitical pressures could lead to policy delays, as governments may opt to maintain stability before enacting drastic changes. In this alternative scenario, those who currently hold these currencies must cultivate patience and maintain a realistic perspective. The focus should never be on betting a future on a speculative outcome, but rather on remaining educated, ready, and financially conservative. The most disciplined and successful observers always prepare a contingency plan for both potential outcomes, the moment of major opportunity and the necessity of a prolonged waiting period. What makes the current moment so compelling is the unprecedented convergence of positive structural factors for both Iraq and Vietnam occurring at the same time. Iraq's national rebuilding is advancing at a pace faster than many international observers anticipated, while Vietnam's dynamic economy continues its powerful expansion despite surrounding global economic volatility. When these domestic developments are combined with the shifting tides of international trade, the stage is potentially set for both nations to reintroduce substantially stronger currencies onto the global stage. Behind the security of closed doors, the global financial architecture is undergoing rapid modernization. The implementation of digital banking tools, sophisticated currency traceability systems, and instant settlement technologies are becoming standard worldwide. These technological advancements would make any revaluation roll out far smoother and quicker than in previous decades. Banks are now capable of updating rates across their entire network within minutes, a fact which leads many observers to believe that if the event happens, it will be executed swiftly and without prolonged public fanfare. As we look ahead to the coming months, what are the most reliable indicators to monitor? For Iraq, close attention should be paid to any official communications from the Central Bank of Iraq that discuss definitive monetary reform, currency stability initiatives, or major financial sector legislative changes. In Vietnam, relevant announcements would involve alterations to foreign exchange regulations or new, high-level partnerships with major international financial organizations. The price of oil asterisk is another crucial variable, as sustained high oil revenues strengthen Iraq's national balance sheet and currency outlook. Similarly, global trade patterns and the signing of new international agreements that deepen these two nations' economic integration will influence momentum. The final, most important takeaway from this entire ongoing narrative must be the principle of balance. While hope and optimism can be powerful motivators, meticulous preparation and an informed perspective are far more valuable. No one possesses a guaranteed timeline or exact mechanism for how or when these potential revaluations might occur, but ignoring the accumulated signs and structural possibilities would be a profound oversight. The most constructive course of action now is straightforward. Remain educated, stay financially organized, and keep your expectations grounded. If the rumored contract rate setup does materialize into reality, it will be a landmark event in contemporary currency history. Yet, even if it does not, the process of rigorous preparation inherently strengthens your financial literacy and readiness for any future market opportunities. The countdown has begun, and the global financial community is watching with focused intensity. This story is ultimately about far more than just paper currencies. It is about economic resurgence, the establishment of global trust, and the tangible possibility of change on an international scale.